Uncensored. Roger, welcome back to Uncensored.
Thank you, Piers.
Nicolas Maduro. There aren't many people out there flying the flag for this despot. Why do you support him?
There are many people out here flying the flag of Nicolas Maduro. I support him because he's the duly democratically elected leader of a country that represents all the principles of the Bolivarian and Chavez revolutionary process. So he represents the people of Venezuela who live a completely different way of life than in the United States where I live, or in England where you live. But it is one that I admire because it's based upon socialist principles and the idea of equal human rights for all people. I don't want to make a long speech, but that's why.
Right, I mean, look, on the point about him being a democratically elected... on the point about the democratically elected part of the equation, as you know, I think 60% of the countries around the world believe that the last election was rigged, that he banned his main opponent from even running, that he claimed victory when he hadn't won, that he stayed in office when he shouldn't have done. That's the antithesis of democracy. It's the kind of thing you see in Russia.
Now, you're talking about, if you're right about this, and I don't know whether you are right about the 60% or not, but that would be 60% of the leaders of the governments of countries around the world, not the countries. If the countries are the people who live in those countries, it's a bit like other things that we're going to get onto later, probably, like Gaza. Most of the people all over the world despise the genocide that's going on in Palestine now. So we can go to that later if you want. But what I'm saying is that what we tend to see is the propaganda put out by the governments of the other countries in the world. So what we hear is what the American government and the English government and the French government and the EU and the blah, blah, blah have to say about the Bolivarian revolution. Okay. Not necessarily the people.
If it's been so, but Roger, if it's been so great in Venezuela, why have 8 million Venezuelans left the country under Maduro?
Because of the US sanctions, obviously, because since 2001. Don't forget, there was a coup organized by the United States, probably by Elliot Abrams, if I remember, to depose Hugo Chavez when he was first elected as the president of Venezuela back in 1990. So they tried to depose him in a coup d'etat in 2002, which didn't work because the people of Venezuela said, are you joking? Which is exactly what they're saying now. They said it in 2019, where the American government and the rest of the West tried to impose Guaido on them in a coup, and they're saying it again now. And the reason that people are leaving is because it's very difficult to live in a country which has had shocking and appalling sanctions imposed upon it by a very, very powerful foreign empire, namely the United States of America.
But it's also true...
That's only my theory.
Oh, well, sure. But it's also true that Maduro's presidency has been marred not just by economic crisis, but by political repression, widespread accusations of corruption and drug trafficking. As I said, 8 million people left. But while he was in power, Maduro's regime was accused of widespread crimes against humanity by the United Nations, including extrajudicial killings and torture techniques such as electric shock, sexual violence and asphyxiation as part of a plan, they said, the UN orchestrated at the highest levels of the government to repress dissent. I mean, why would you align yourself to a regime like that?
Piers, I've talked to you before. We did a show once, I think, in London a couple of years ago and things. So I understand where you're coming from, because I understand that you believe the mainstream media in the West. So
well, that's the United Nations. That's the United Nations.
Excuse me, I haven't finished. No, you could have read any and all of this in the pages of the New York Times.
But it was the United Nations.
Excuse me, you talked about drug trafficking, drug trafficking. There is no mention of Venezuela in any of the reports from the DEA, even in the United States of America, that to link Venezuela or Maduro to any drug trafficking. So this is a news story that's been cooked up very, very.
Before we jump into this clip, here's what you need to know. Piers Morgan is known for pushing hard questions and refusing to let controversial opinions slide. In this interview, he challenges his guests in a way that instantly shifts the atmosphere in the room. You can feel the pressure build as the conversation moves from calm to confrontational. This isn't just another interview, it's a clash of strong personalities and unfiltered opinions. Watch closely how Piers drives the tension before the moment explodes. Watch closely. This interview goes from calm to explosive in seconds. One statement triggers a strong reaction, and suddenly the mood completely changes. The tension is real, and neither side holds back. Moments like this show how powerful words can be when emotions take over. Would you have reacted the same way? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more. Now, on the other side of this conversation is Roger Waters, a legendary musician known for speaking his mind and never backing down from what he believes. When he's challenged, he responds with bold confidence and raw honesty. In this moment, one question sparks a powerful reaction that completely changes the tone of the interview. You're about to witness a response that caught everyone off guard and set the stage for a tense exchange. Pay attention to how quickly the energy shifts.
Recently, in order to support the latest attacks upon that country. Anyway, to go into the detail is you and me is nonsense. We have different opinions about these things, and we don't need to really air those different opinions. But my position is this. I believe in human rights for all my brothers and sisters. I believe for human rights for my brothers and sisters equal under international law in Venezuela and the United States of America and England, where I come from, where we don't have them anymore because England is now a fascist state. Witness the criminalizing of Palestine Act, and so on. I believe in equal human rights for Palestinians, Israelis, the people of Iran, which is now a big question mark. It looks as if I don't know what it looks as if. I don't want to start guessing about the future of it. But that's my platform. The Universal Declaration
but here's what I'm
of Human
curious.
Rights, Paris.
Okay. I understand, but I'm curious about your platform in this sense. Is that my understanding is that for all your support of someone like Maduro and his regime, you have a very different view of the Iranian regime. You think they're a bad thing?
No, of course not. It's none of my business. I'm not an Iranian. Why don't we let the Iranians figure out what kind of government they want?
Well,
we absolutely know one thing. We know they don't want the Shah's son back.
Right.
He's the least popular
figure.
We know they do not want... Excuse me. We know the Iranians do not want regime change. We've seen that what's happened over the last week, I believe, in a lot of Iran, and there have been a lot of deaths. But I'm doing my research. It takes a while. You have to get into it. You have to go to the right places.
But you have supported the protesters.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean you mean the wearing of the hijab thing? I do support. I support the right of women to dress how they want anywhere in the world. I do, yeah.
So do you
not agree with the...
Do you support the protesters in Iran at the moment?
Well, if it was the shopkeepers who went, oh, my God, inflation's going through the roof, let's do something about it. Yeah, of course I do. Why shouldn't they say? And so did the government. The government sent the police out to protect those grocers, those business owners, those ordinary working people in Iran. OK? And they were attacked by gangs of armed thugs who murdered, we believe, we don't know, the truth isn't all out, but armed thugs, probably organised by MI6 and the CIA,
right. So sorry, just to be clear.
That's nothing to...
So just to be clear, you support the protesters and you support the regime?
Yes, of course.
Right.
I would love regimes where people could protest, like the good woman who was just murdered in Minneapolis, and the government could govern for the benefit of the people. I live in the United States, where the government does not govern for the benefit of the people. It governs for the benefit of the oligarchs and the very rich, and everyone knows it.
Right.
Okay, so I can't support the current... Sorry, go on.
Well, my view of the Iranian regime, and tell me where you disagree with this characterization, is that for 47 years, since they toppled the Shah, and I'm not saying by any means the Shah regime was perfect, but certainly by comparison to what we see today, Iranians had a much better quality of life under the Shah than they do under this regime. And that this regime has been one of the most repressive and degrading regimes on the Iranian people of any regime in the world. And that is by common consent of every international organisation you care to think of.
Piers, darling, please. I disagree. But why wouldn't we ask Iranians to answer that question?
I have
I'll tell
asked
you why,
Iranians.
because they've answered the question. Excuse me, I'm not talking about the MEK. I'm not talking about Rudy Giuliani in the United States. I'm talking about
Iranian
actual
people.
Iranians who actually, there are 80 million of them. The Iranian people are absolutely united to defend Iran against the influence of the empire of the United States of America.
So why are so many Iranian people taking to the streets to protest against?
Before we jump into this clip, here's what you need to know. Piers Morgan is known for pushing hard questions and refusing to let controversial opinions slide. In this interview, he challenges his guests in a way that instantly shifts the atmosphere in the room. You can feel the pressure build as the conversation moves from calm to confrontational. This isn't just another interview, it's a clash of strong personalities and unfiltered opinions. Watch closely how Piers drives the tension before the moment explodes. Watch closely. This interview goes from calm to explosive in seconds. One statement triggers a strong reaction and suddenly the mood completely changes. The tension is real and neither side holds back. Moments like this show how powerful words can be when emotions take over. Would you have reacted the same way? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more. Now, on the other side of this conversation is Roger Waters, a legendary musician known for speaking his mind and never backing down from what he believes. When he's challenged, he responds with bold confidence and raw honesty. In this moment, one question sparks a powerful reaction that completely changes the tone of the interview. You're about to witness a response that caught everyone off guard and set the stage for a tense exchange. Pay attention to how quickly the energy shifts.
No, they were protesting against inflation and against the devaluation of the rye or whatever the currency is called. That's what they were. And they stopped protesting the minute anybody started talking about regime change.
They haven't stopped protesting.
Or reimpose,
Well, they haven't stopped protesting.
The Shah's family.
Where are you getting this from?
Well, I'm not there. I'm not there. So
No,
I'll
you're
have
not
to
there.
take your
But where are
word
you
on
getting
that.
your information?
No, but I have lots of friends who are there because I'm philosophically quite close to the people of Iran. All right, and the mass of the people. This is what you keep not understanding: is the mass of the people are absolutely solidly opposed to the foreign interference. And this, of course, includes all of the sanctions against Iran that have caused the massive inflation and the devaluation.
But why do you
of their
think Iran
currency
has
and
been
so on.
sanctioned?
Because it's the last country on the list that Paul Wolfowitz told Wesley Clark about back whenever it was in the Pentagon, of the countries that the United States want to destroy so that they can take over the world. And it's the last one standing. They've destroyed the other 6. There were 7 on the list.
Yeah, in
Somalia,
fact, the reason Iran's been
Syria.
sanctioned. Yeah, but hang on, Roger. The reason Iran's been sanctioned is because it is unarguable that it has been a major sponsor of terror organizations all through the Middle East, from the Houthis,
Rubbish. That's
to
just nonsense.
Hezbollah,
It's
to
nonsense.
Hamas. Well, it's true.
It's not a Palestine action. It's nonsense. Anyway, one man's terrorism is another man's freedom.
Well, let me ask you that. So do you think let me ask you first then, because it's important to what I just said. Of course, that only applies if you view Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis as terror groups. Do you?
Here we go. Piers, grow up. This is an absurd conversation. It's like what you're trying to do is drag this conversation into one about the meaning of the word terrorist and who is and who isn't. Well, anybody with an IQ above room temperature knows that that's a meaningless conversation and that the word terrorist is a blight on our language because it doesn't mean anything significant. It means whatever the person using it wants it to mean. You know, so if you drop bombs on people and murder hundreds of thousands of people and you're on the right side of whoever's opinion it is, you are not a terrorist. But if you kill a few people somewhere else, you are. So it's just a question of where you stand in the political and the global political spectrum.
So just to be clear where you stand.
That's why the word should either be defined properly as to what it... For instance, I believe terrorists mean to try to accomplish political ends by acts of violence that involve murder. Am I right? Is that it?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay. Well, then anybody, you know, so to call Hamas terrorists, but not to call the Israelis terrorists is absurd, obviously. I mean, let me ask you.
All right, let me ask you.
Excuse me.
Well, no, at some stage I have to ask you a question. So on October the 7th, 2023, did Hamas commit an act of terrorism?
Oh, God. Not again. Not again.
Well, did they or not?
I'm not going to... Do you know what's good about me having this conversation with you now? In hindsight, because we had this conversation when we spoke last. And I said the word Zaka to you, and you went, what? Well, did you find out who Zaka are? As I asked you to when we had a conversation before. Did you?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Roger, with respect,
and what did they
I just
say?
asked you whether Hamas...
Excuse me? No, well, you see, this is nonsense.
If you want to interview me...
You won't have the conversation.
If you want to interview me, we'll do that for a show of your own. You're on my show. I'm asking you questions. I'm simply curious whether you believe what Hamas did on October the 7th was an act of terrorism.
October the 7th is a very complex... On some level, it's very simple, i.e. it was an act of resistance by an occupied people. The armed wing, the armed wing of an occupied people. That's what it was.
So it wasn't terrorism, it was an act of resistance.
That's what... I'm not going to get involved in your terrorism story. I mean, who murdered most of the people? The Israelis did. Have you seen the piles of bombed-out cars destroyed by Hellfire missiles? Thousands and thousands of them.
You think the Israelis killed most of the people who died on October the 7th?
Yes, I do. Yes.
What a load of nonsense, honestly. Roger, seriously.
Well, isn't that interesting that you should say that? Look at the evidence, Piers. You've never even heard of Zaka, who made up all the lies about rape.
Where do you get your evidence from? Really curious.
Reading. Piers, we had this conversation.
I know, but I'm looking at your worldview, Roger. Roger, look, you don't need to do this. You're a very wealthy, successful, talented musician, made a fortune as a member of Pink Floyd. You don't need to say all these things. I'm just having you on to try and get to understand where this comes from. You think Nicolas Maduro, that most people think was a disgusting tyrant of Venezuela, is a good guy. You can't seem to make your mind up whether the regime in Iran is a good or bad thing, but you think the only reason people are protesting is because of the economy, which is nonsense. You think that what Hamas did on October the 7th was an act of resistance and won't call them terrorists and so on. So you're an outlier, as you know, with how conventional thinking is on these things. You know, that you're perfectly entitled to be. But when you say these things, you know, I look at you, for example, you rail a lot about America and about Donald Trump, but you live in America. Right? I mean, there's an inconsistency there. Why live somewhere if you hate it so much or hate the leaders so much? Why don't you act on a point of principle, get off your backside and go and live in Iran or Venezuela? live under one of
Maybe
these
I will.
regimes that you think
Maybe-
aren't too bad.
Piers, do stop.
Before we jump into this clip, here's what you need to know. Piers Morgan is known for pushing hard questions and refusing to let controversial opinions slide. In this interview, he challenges his guests in a way that instantly shifts the atmosphere in the room. You can feel the pressure build as the conversation moves from calm to confrontational. This isn't just another interview, it's a clash of strong personalities and unfiltered opinions. Watch closely how Piers drives the tension before the moment explodes. Watch closely. This interview goes from calm to explosive in seconds. One statement triggers a strong reaction, and suddenly the mood completely changes. The tension is real, and neither side holds back. Moments like this show how powerful words can be when emotions take over. Would you have reacted the same way? Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more. Now, on the other side of this conversation is Roger Waters, a legendary musician known for speaking his mind and never backing down from what he believes. When he's challenged, he responds with bold confidence and raw honesty. In this moment, one question sparks a powerful reaction that completely changes the tone of the interview. You're about to witness a response that caught everyone off guard and set the stage for a tense exchange. Pay attention to how quickly the energy shifts.